would want to make to the proposed agenda? If not, may I request if we are ready to adapt the agenda for the regulatory reports?
Sorry,
Yes.
Chairperson.
Yes,
I'm sorry, put under governance matters. I think it's just about our internal rules for public hearings. Thanks, Chair.
5.4. Ms. Massetti, I may be reading the wrong agenda. Mine is minutes of the previous meeting.
Oh, I don't know,
can you guide?
Chairperson, because...
Yes, Chairperson, it is actually 5.3 that she's referring to. She's not looking at the agenda. It's actually 5.3, the round-robin deviation from the revised person comment procedure.
Ms. Massetti, are you fine if we make it as 5.3? And members, are you happy that we take this and put it under? If we are happy to, thank you. Advocate Sitole. Agenda as such, where 5.3 is moved on to the closed part of the meeting. May I then go on to show of hands, colleagues? Can we then agree that we are adopting the agenda as such? Because I think we were only deciding on the Mr. Spander, Ms. Bia, Ms. Mbungose. Thank you. Then the agenda is adopted as such. To item number 4, the declaration of interest. We have the forms that are attached, so may I request the members. Mr. Mkiza, you have your hand up. And Faye? Oh, Faye, you also have your hand up. Okay. May I then the forms as provided, sign them and send them to Faye? None. Can we then move on to item number 5? Item number 5 is the report from the chairperson of the electricity subcommittee, Mr. Ntlanta Kumete, the regulator member primarily responsible for electricity, Mr. Gulu 5.1 right up to 5.4.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good respect of a decision of the request. It's a request to the energy regulator to approve the draft decision to concur with the minister on the draft section 34 determination for the procurement 144.5 megawatts of new generation capacity from solar PV, and which is attached here to as under by stakeholders. The applications were published for comments, and there were no objectors to these applications. Chairperson, the ELS recommends the submission without any enhancement, and the decision that the ELS is seeking is on page 4 of 51 page numbers, the green number, the green numbers, page 4 of 51, and the request essentially is that the ER should concur with the procurement of the new generation at Letabo Power Station in the Free State, and 19.5, the procurement, the electricity procured shall target connection as soon as possible. And then lastly, standard and processes which are fair, equitable, transparent, competitive, and cost reflective. Thank you.
Thank you, Faith. Thank you, Mr. Kumete, for submission. Any hands, any questions? Mr. Sbanda?
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you to Mr. Kumete. Chair, I do support the recommendation to concur. I just have a concern. To come up with a consultation document, and given the urgency around these projects, it is probably an internal matter that we need to deal with in terms of how we can streamline our processes, Chair. But I just thought that probably the amount of time that we've taken is it's a bit on the of course there are specific reasons as to why it has taken us this long. by the time we make a decision, it will be close to about 7 months. So for me, that's quite a concern. The second issue that I wanted to raise is on paragraph 10.7 on page 30 of 51, where we sort of like intimating that there will be an oversight by NERSA on the ESCOM procurement processes. And I just wanted to understand the nature of this oversight that we envisage, because I thought that procurement it's an internal agency, but if the regulator wants to play a particular role, perhaps that's the part that I just need to understand as to what exactly.
I don't see any other questions or hands that have been raised. Mr. Gumede, are you able to assess
any of the delays that we have? We do with these concurrences. There tends to be issues, but with primarily with solar, PV, and wind, there tend not to be challenges. So, but there may well have been other issues, but streamlining our decisions. So I don't think we should seek to justify, but rather to take the chin that we were indeed late, and we need to find ways of improving. However, on the second issue, can I ask Mr. Shozi to assist me with that 10.7 in terms of what was ended?
Sorry, Chair, I was about to ask. I missed the second.
Room for abuse during the procurement, and that this will be mitigated by ensuring that there's extensive oversight by NERSA and National Treasury throughout the procurement process. And the question is, where is our mandate to do that? Because this will be competitive, fair. So you get the question now, Mr. Schultz.
Yes, I do get it, Chairperson. Probably what we need to do on that analysis is to remove
about monitoring the imprudent procurement or imprudent costs that are not passed through to the customers. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be part of this discussion. So my recommendation or the enhancement that I would like to propose is that on the NERSA analysis part, can we just try and stick to what and the things that are going to be done when we are doing the MYPD or any other pricing determination that we would be doing? Can we leave it for that process rather than conflate it into this submission? Recommendation, if members are aligned with that. Thank you. Must not be seen as the bottleneck in these things, and we must ensure that the approval. Before we just go on this, may I request that we just go through Mr. Shozi, if you're just struggling with my the movement of my before it really comes here, can we make sure that those things are corrected? I think there's a language editor process before it comes to the regulator, then we don't have to be noting those things. But for it does need that editing. With those comments, colleagues, may I then request by show of hands if members are ready to approve what was recommended on page 4 of this submission. I've got Mr. Kize, Ms. Massetti, Mr. Bia, Mr. Mane, Mr. Spanda, Mr. Advocate Sitole. Thank you. Faye, we have the decision. Then we can move on to the next item, item 5. Gomeda, you still have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. This item is as the subcommittee to request the Energy Regulator to approve the National Free Basic Compensation or for the compensation of ESCOM parties for the period for the financial year 23-24. For the 23%, because that is determined that is provided for by National Treasury to the local authorities through the equitable share allocation as identified by COPTA, ESCOM for the provision of such services on behalf of local authorities. On the 2nd of May 2023, the ELS did consider the submission for the approval of the NFBE, and this is now recommended. It's based on the formula which is on paragraph 4.5. I will not go through the formula itself. Assume that it's been read. Whether the number for anyone or a third eye who goes through the numbers before the submission, to ensure that the numbers are correct, is currently only the team within the department goes through the submission and does the quality check. But in the recommendation from the ELS is that the ER approves the NFB rate of 172.76 cents per kilowatt hour for the 23-24.
There's a recommendation by the electricity subcommittee for us to approve the National Free Basic Electricity Mkhize. So I'll start with Mr. Sibanda.
Thank you, Chair. It's just a minor one. Chair, I see in the recommendation we talk of the effective date, but we don't indicate the end date. So I'm not sure by design or should we specify the relevant period, 1 July until.
Thank you, Mr. Sibanda. Mr. Mkhize.
Just the first three variables are actually divided by the forecasted FBE volumes as a whole. Just that minor change. That's all. I'm a member of ELS and I support the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. And colleagues, these are really enhancements that don't require any response unless you have something additional to put in, Mr. Gumede, because I think we always assume that everyone knows that the financial year is from 1st of this, but I think let's enhance it by just showing what when this NFB rate expires, and on the formula, let's just
also at the ELS. We apologize for not having corrected it. Thanks.
Thank you. Colleagues, we are then going to jump onto 5.4, and these are really the minutes of Mr. Gumede. Any points or items that you'd like to highlight from that? Yes, Mr.
Sorry, you didn't specifically indicate the approval, Chair.
Apologies. Can we just go back and because I think the recommendation is that we approve the NFB rate of 17. Can I just get to the page? So the recommendation by the electricity subcommittee is that the energy regulator approve the NFBE rate of 172.76 cents per kilowatt hour for the financial year 24, effective from the 1st of July 2023 to the 30th of June 2024. By short misstep. Thank you, colleagues. We are now on item number 5.4. Mr. Gumede, members of the regulator, we have those minutes to note.
Thanks to Mr. Gumede. From Professor, I just need clarity on the minutes. There is a Mr. Mavuso that is on the apologies, and subsequently to the minutes, you find another. I don't know if the same person or a different one who's making presentation from the staff side. It just noted that is 50 plus. So I don't know if it means that all those people sat there, or they came and presented and left, or it's just a recording of everyone who was invited. And I'm raising this from a productivity point of view, because if you're going to have 50 plus people sitting in a meeting, and when you read made presentation, so I just could not understand what necessitated that high number of attendance. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Mane. Any other questions? I don't see any other hands. Mr. Gumede, would you like to respond more to the second question? I think then the Secretariat can help us with the first one, that there's someone who has apologized but has made a presentation.
Chairperson, thank you for the opportunity. I think in respect of the second one, in the main, Madam challenge then tends to be that in some cases, depending on the item, you will find that in our cases that, let's take for instance an item, if we are discussing the MYPD, that you find that on a particular item there may well be many contributors to that item, and therefore if a particular issue can only be responded to by a particular individual, it's always important that individual is available. Is a particular issue that's being raised, you always need to have that.
Mr. Mane, there was that part of the response. So if you would want to follow up, or you're happy that the regulator notes part where Mr. Mavuso is not in the meeting, but he also is in the minutes.
Chairperson, what I will go back to the record and correct where the matter needs to be corrected. That's the undertaking we can take. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Mane, would you be fine? Note the two sets of minutes. We'll start with the ones of the first of minutes. I have Mr. Mane and Advocate Sitole, so we note the second set of the minutes as well. Thank you, colleagues. Can we then move on? We note that we have moved item 5.3 to the closed part of the meeting. So if we can then go to item number 6, which is the report from the chairperson of the Piped Gas Subcommittee, Ms. Masetti, the regulator member responsible for piped gas at NESA. Ms. Masetti, can you take us through the minutes, or if there's anything that you'd like to highlight?
Thank you, Chairperson. I have two sets of minutes to present for noting today. The first set of minutes relates to matters that were deliberated on the 9th of February 2023. I have nothing to highlight, Chairperson. Most of those matters were processed and finalized. And the second set of minutes relates to the meeting of the Pipe Gas Subcommittee held on the 15th minutes. I will take them as being read, and I'm happy to take questions of clarity from the members. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Masetti. Members, the minutes are here for us to note any points or areas that we would like to be clarified. I'm assuming, Mr. Mane, that your initial comment around the number of staff attendees would be applicable here, and I think whatever Masetti, are you also comfortable having a look at what would be proposed as a way going forward, and whether for you the productivity issues are not an issue and these are the members that are required, or if you would want to echo what Mr. Gumede has indicated?
Thank you, Chair. I think, Chairperson, we can take it at a sort of at a governance meeting, because from my side, I believe that we are such a small team, and I think the issues, if you look at them, they're quite of exposure, understanding how they're supposed to respond to certain issues that they work as a team. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Masetti. I also just request Ms. Simane, if you could note the angle that Ms. Masetti has provided. Thank you. May I then take you to the first set of minutes? I think the minutes of the meeting of the 9th of February. Those. But Mr. Gumede, Ms. Bia, Ms. Simane, if we note these minutes. I've got Mr. Mkiza's hand. Ms. Bia, Ms. Masetti, Ms. Spanda, Ms. Simane, Mr. Gumede, Advocate Mpungosa. Thank you. Faye, you've got that. The minutes have been noted. Colleagues, may we then move to item number 7. This is the report from the chairperson of the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee, Mr. Mkize, who is the regulator member primarily responsible for petroleum pipelines at NESA. Mr. Mkize, you have the floor. Yes. We could hear you, Mr. Mkize.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. I've got minutes of meetings. which is meeting number 171 of the 3rd of March 2023, and then the PPS minutes of meeting number 173 of the 5th of April 2023. Have any space? I take these minutes as read and stand ready to respond to any questions, if any. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Members, any comments, questions on the minutes? Mr. Mkhize, may I also just throw it to you? I think there was a comment around the meetings, and if from your side you would want to indicate there's no issue of productivity and that the people who attend these meetings are required.
In terms of the responses by my colleagues, and I think also the last one, particularly does justify the number of attendees that we have, and the issue also of exposure to some of the members, because sort of the members.
We're losing you there, Mr. Mkhize. Mr. Mkhize, you may have to repeat what you said. I completely lost it, and unless you had it, Faye.
No, Chair, we didn't hear anything.
May you please repeat, Mr. Mkhize, the last part?
Yeah, the last part I'm saying that also, whilst we're continuously monitoring the fact that in most of these meetings, there's new work that is assigned in terms of projects to be looked at, and it's the members of the team to also have a good grasp as to exactly what is required of them. Yeah, I will leave it at that.
Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. May we just note those, and Mr. Mane, I hope that you have noted the points that come from the different chairpersons of the different committees. With that, colleagues, may of the 3rd of March, happy to note Advocate Tobias, Mr. Spanda, and Mr. Mkhize.